Welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. These are the weeks that were, are, and shall be. Let's begin with a cover reveal. Bam! Here it is. While Darkness Gathers is a sequel to the Edan Trilogy, taking place 16 years after the trilogy ends. And for the cover, we decided to go with the stained glass window motif, we being myself and my cover designer from the previous 3 covers for the trilogy, Jack Shepard, also the map maker for the Edan Trilogy, including the color map in the Broken Binding Special Edition. Jack has, on his own, designed this cover for While Darkness Gathers, and you can see that it is slightly more abstract than the covers for the Edan Trilogy. I love that we've continued with the stained glass window motif, but we've got something slightly different here. And the book itself is slightly different as well. It is a shorter book, more streamlined. I felt that I had done a lot of the world building in the Edan Trilogy, and I decided to try a little bit of an experiment here in the sequel. And so it's something that I hope people will enjoy, and it will be released on June 21. That is the official release date. You heard it here, folks. June 21 of this year. So I'm very excited to have that out in the world. And there are, by the way, still copies of the Broken Binding Special Edition of The Way of Edan available. They are going to, I hope, run out soon, but hopefully not too soon so that you can't get your own copy. But if you are interested, it is something I would advise you to do pretty soon. And we will be getting to work also pretty soon on The Prophet of Edan for the Broken Binding. Very excited to do the same process for book 2 of the Edan Trilogy. And I have some very exciting ideas about possible scenes for the art in the book. So yeah, I'm just really excited to start talking with Patrick, the art director and a beloved member of our community, with his YouTube channel and also his wonderful reviews on Goodreads. But yes, we are going to get started soon on the special edition by the Broken Binding of The Prophet of Edan. Speaking of The Prophet of Edan, the audiobook. Now, many people have listened to the audiobook for The Way of Edan as narrated by Alan from the Library of Alexandria, and I'm excited to say that it is very likely that we'll be seeing Book 2, The Prophet of Edan, in audiobook form by the beginning of April or so, possibly even end of March, but I can pretty much guarantee it's going to be April. Let's hope. Fingers crossed, April, possibly even end of March. Let's see. Depends on how things go for Alan, but that's an approximation at this point. And I could not be more excited. The fact is, Alan just did such a stellar job. Just such a wonderful performance on The Way of Edan. And there's some really cool. I'm excited to find out how Alan voices a dragon, for example. That's going to be very interesting. So lots to look forward to for the Edan Trilogy. Now, what have I been up to on the channel? Well, lots of fun things, actually. I did a review of Discovery by J.A.J. Minton. I added the P to the family. Now, if you're not familiar with the Mintons, they are the force behind the YouTube channel Talking Story. Also, just a tremendously lovely family. You've got John and Amy and Jacob, and also Mr. Pooh, which is why I added the P. If you don't know who Mr. Pooh is, you need to head over to Talking Story and see what a cute little dog they have in Mr. Pooh. I love when Mr. Pooh is on the scene over there at Talking Story, but I love everything about the channel as well. Wonderful family and wonderful book, more to the point. I had a tremendous time reading Discovery. It's a really fantastic debut. It doesn't feel like a debut at all. It feels like seasoned writers produced this marvelous cosmic horror with all kinds of wonderful themes incorporated, the othering and hybridity and questions about who we are and where we're going and our place in this vast universe. Just a fantastic read with such a strong command of dialogue and so much else. I had a great time with Discovery, and people are going to love this book. It's going to be out in mid-May. I believe it's May 15. So yes, and then of course, I did a One Piece video. I released my thoughts on Punk Hazard. I had a tremendous time with Punk Hazard, actually. I know it's not considered one of the more popular arcs in One Piece, but it was tremendously funny. Lots of great scenes. Plus, it does some really important, I think, once again, setup for the more popular arc that follows. This is a pattern I'm seeing now in the manga in One Piece, that you often will have an arc that does the important work of setting up what's to come. And yeah, it's the following arc that's more popular because it's more obvious what's going on there in terms of the epicness and the themes and everything else. But it's being set up. The foundation is there in this earlier arc, and I think that is a really important thing. That's a vital role. You wouldn't have the popularity of the following arc if it weren't for that setup that is done. That's important work. So that should be recognized. And it's also just a great, arc itself. There are some really important themes being dealt with in Punk Hazard. I mean, it's got a lot of very prescient material in there about different kinds of leadership. And also, I would say the difference between power and governance based on fear and deception and manipulation versus respect and mutual recognition of the other and other things that we see in the Straw Hat Pirates themselves, who are examples of how you can have a pirate crew with a captain, but between that captain and his crew, there is not just respect, but also deep affection and mutual building up of each other, affirmation of each other. So I think that Oda is once again just a brilliant storyteller, including some marvelous themes in here and some really great character work and emotional moments, as always. Maybe not the biggest emotional moments I've had in One Piece, but still some good stuff in there. Moments of sacrifice and incredible devotion and friendship, and you name it. I mean, One Piece just continues to be a huge win for me. And I can't wait to, this, I think this year I'll probably catch up and be current, and I'll be theorizing along with everybody else. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And then also, what else have I done on the channel? Well, I did release a video that is really important to me, and I hope more people will check it out. I mean, lots of people have, and I thank everyone who has. And that's a video that, in proportion to the number of views it has a ton of likes. So the people who are watching it are enjoying it, just not getting as many views as I would have expected. But hey, that's YouTube. And I think it may be because YouTube thinks my channel is a sort of a longer video channel. That the videos that I do well on my channel tend to be half an hour or longer. That is true. So when I release a shorter video, it doesn't necessarily do well. But what the video I'm talking about is the Edan Trilogy theme song, which I had commissioned the composer, Nikhil, who happens to also be a booktuber. And he has a music channel. I will link both in the description. And by the way, he's tremendously talented. He has all kinds of serious credentials. He's written music for the Wheel of Time TV series, his Dark Materials, other television series and movies, and all kinds of really, amazing stuff. I find it amazing that this fellow is a member of our community, somebody with such accomplishments. And yeah, I jumped at the chance to ask him, hey, could I commission you to write a theme song for the Edan Trilogy? And he was kind enough to do so. And man, I could not be more thrilled with the results. Also, something that makes me very happy and proud is that my daughter, Rohana, plays the cello on this piece. And it is just so beautiful. And for me, Nikhil's composition really captures the vibe of the Edan Trilogy. Now, he read the entire trilogy before composing this piece, so he knows the story well, and I feel that he has evoked the essence of the Edan Trilogy in this music. So even if you haven't read the trilogy, check out the video. It is really wonderful. His composition, Rohana's cello playing, everything about it, I just love so much. And it's accompanied by all the art from the special edition of The Way of Edan. So it's another way for me to show off that beautiful art that has been done by these tremendously talented people who work for the Broken Binding. So yeah, please check out that video if you haven't already. I think it's one of the best videos I've ever made. But that often happens here on YouTube where we feel like this is my best video, and then it doesn't always get the number of views that we hope. But that's, that's c'est la vie. But the people who have watched, I think, have enjoyed that one a lot. And finally, I have, since the last episode of The Weeks That Were, I did one really fantastic episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy, and this was with Darko from the channel Kindles and Kicks. Had a wonderful time talking with Darko. What a great fella. And whenever I think of some of the best reviews I have seen on YouTube, Darko's review of one particular book stands out. It really does. So if you want to hear about that, check out my discussion with him in that episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy. That is a review that made me tear up, actually. And it was just so, so well done. And yeah, I want everybody to see that review. So check out my discussion with Darko in Dear Dr. Fantasy. And what am I reading now? Well, I am about a quarter of the way through The Unholy Consult. This is the final book in not only the Aspect Emperor series, but also in the Second Apocalypse as it stands, because Baker's projected third part to the Second Apocalypse series with its various series within it. It just hasn't happened yet. It may never happen. But we do have, fortunately, the first trilogy, the Prince of Nothing, and we have the Aspect Emperor tetralogy, which ends with this thing right here, the Unholy Consult. Now, at this point, I must say, it is not my favorite book in the series. Actually, the first two books in Aspect Emperor, I think, as it stands, now let's see, I do need to finish this before I can make any firm declarations like this, but I loved the first two books in Aspect Emperor. They were brilliant. The Judging Eye, and what was the one that follows that? The White Luck Warrior. Brilliant, brilliant books. Just Baker at his best. And Baker is prodigiously talented. He is one of the most talented authors I've ever read. And so please keep that in mind. But I am not having the best of times in the Unholy Consult. This is not my cup of tea. I've remarked many times about the bleakness of Baker's world. It is incredibly bleak. It is the grim, darkest of anything I've ever read, I think. And it is just relentlessly bleak. And not only that, but the last two books, The Unholy Consult, particularly so far, but even the book before it, the name is slipping my mind at the moment. It is The Great Ordeal, of course, which was a bit of an ordeal, honestly. The slog of slogs. That's what I feel like I'm in right now, because Baker really this book wallows in the muck and in the viscera and the gore and the putrescence. It is humanity at its absolute most, not just primal, but at our worst. And it's just relentless. And I feel like there's an imbalance here. Okay, I get it. We're horrible. I'm speaking as somebody who wrote a trilogy with plenty of bleakness, I think, especially in the third book. I mean, some people have even said that third book is pretty dark. But there's just such an imbalance here. Look, Baker, look, sometimes the sun does shine. Sometimes people are nice. I think, sometimes we're not so horrible. There is, I think, the possibility that we can even transcend a lot of this, a lot of our primalness. I have to hope that. I have to live my life believing that we can transcend our tribalism and our tendency to hate the other and to be selfish and all of that. But man, this is just, maybe he'll surprise me. Maybe the Unholy Consult will introduce a little more affirmation of humanity, a little bit of sunshine in there. I don't know, maybe. But man, it just feels so relentless that at this point it's gotten to be monotonous. I have to confess, as brilliant as Baker is, as amazing as he is as a writer, and I have the utmost respect for his talent. But it doesn't matter how talented you are if you're just relentlessly focusing on this darkness and this bleakness. it's going to get monotonous, and it has for me. The Unholy Consult, I'm actually bored at this point, and that's not something you ever want to be when reading a book. I'm kind of bored by the monotony. I'm actually not even shocked anymore by the despicable acts that are being uh, perpetrated by characters that I can I say that I'm attached to them when I don't know. It's gotten to the point where I'm bored, and that's a shame because Baker is extremely talented. But there's this imbalance I feel in here, and that's something I'm going to talk about with Joanna when I finish The Unholy Consult. We're going to have a discussion about that book, about the series as a whole. Maybe we'll devote some time in the beginning of the video to just sort of a why you should read the second Apocalypse series since it's the end of it. But yeah, I've been looking forward to talking about it with Joanna. But man, one thing also about the Unholy Consult, I can tell you one thing. I am so glad I'm a vegetarian because if I hadn't been a vegetarian, this book would have converted me. The word meat comes up a lot in here, and it's not always well done either. So yeah, this has just been a tough one, guys. My utmost respect still for R. Scott Baker. The only thing keeping me reading this book is his sheer talent. I don't know if any other author could get this disgusting and bleak and keep me reading because yeah, the only thing that's keeping me in this book is just the fact that I admire his prose that much. But yeah, I'm not a happy reader at the moment, and but I am looking forward to reads ahead, and again, maybe Baker will surprise me and things will pick up. But I am looking forward to my SPFBO reads, my Spiff Box reads that are on the horizon. I'm going to be tackling some more. I'm not actually sure which one I'm going to read next. I may just take them in the order that they are presented. But yeah, let's see in the order they were picked, that is. So I will be picking up some Spiff Box. I'll let you know. I'll put out some reviews. I hope people will check out those because, look, if it's made it this far in the contest, it's good. So yeah, and there's a lot of great self-published fantasy out there, and I'm hoping that more people will discover this fact and overcome the prejudice that seems to be prevalent, where people think just assume, well, it didn't get published by a traditional publisher, so it can't be good. So yeah, that's just not true anymore, guys. There's a lot of great self-published fantasy out there, and this contest, the whole purpose is to shine a light on it. So I hope people will check out those reviews. I'm also going to read some more Le Guin soon. I need some Le Guin. I need some beauty in my life. Not that there isn't, sorrow and despair and that sort of thing in Le Guin's books, but there's balance there. There's plenty of beauty and hope and compassion. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going home to read some more Le Guin. I'm still in the Tales of Earthsea. I'm way behind on my Earthsea reading, but I'll get there eventually. I promise. I promise, Anita, I'll get there because I am going to be talking with Anita when I finally do read The Other Wind, which is the fifth book in the Earthsea series. But I've got to finish the Tales of Earthsea first. And then, of course, I'm going to continue One Piece. Now, One Piece is a series where I feel that I'm reading this and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy. I feel well adjusted. I feel a sense of hope and meaning when I read One Piece and just friendship. And yes, there's hard things that happen in One Piece too. If it were just relentlessly happy, it wouldn't be a compelling read either, now would it? So there's plenty of the tough stuff. The tears come with One Piece, big time. And yeah, I don't ever cry when I'm reading Baker though, because I just don't feel as attached to these characters because I feel like they're all doomed. So what is the point of getting attached to characters when you know they're doomed? Yeah, I mean, enough of my complaining though. So One Piece, thank you for being my happy place. So elsewhere on YouTube, I have been having a blast. I've had some great discussions with some wonderful people at other channels. I had a great time at Four Corners of the Page, just talking about, well, self-published. Actually, speaking of self-published fantasy, one of the missions there at Four Corners of the Page is to do this series where he'll talk about self-published books and have conversations with self-published authors, which I think is fantastic. Good for him. But also, he's a fan of Malazan, so he has good taste, obviously. And yeah, just a great fellow, very insightful, very articulate. Had a great time chatting over there at Four Corners of the Page. So do check out that discussion. I had also an equally fantastic time over at Bald and Balding with Mike and Ro. What a great time I had meeting those guys. And again, we were just talking about a broad conversation. Edan stuff did come up, of course, but yeah, we just talked about lots of stuff. Just had a lot of fun. I didn't realize I was going to have that much fun. I knew I was going to have fun, but that was just a blast. Had a great time, and again, talking with people who love this genre, who love great stories, and also have a great sense of humor. Also, I met a fellow Vermonter there. I love that. That Ro is my fellow Vermonter there. So we had a good time bonding over that. And also, I am, well, by the time this video comes out, I will have been on the Fantasy Network for an episode of Chatting with Nuts. Yes, the #1 talk show on BookTube. I think it's fair to say that nobody does it better than Jimmy. And I'm sure that we had a great time, although I'm filming this before the discussion. But let's just pretend that I'm filming this after, and I can tell you that it was fantastic. Probably the best episode of Chatting with Nuts ever. Probably. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe. Well, I'm sure we had a great time. Right, Jimmy? Yes, do check that out if you weren't able to make the live stream. So yes, and upcoming, I'm gonna have a chat with Nikhil, my composer and my friend over there at Shelf Esteem, and also he has his music channel. Don't forget that. Subscribe to both. But I'm gonna have a chat with him about composing music for fantasy because I think that we fantasy lovers are very fortunate in that our genre is very supportive of great music. That music and fantasy go together beautifully. And you just think of all of the great films in fantasy that would not be the same if you took out the music, right? Just think of, I mean, there even are joke, videos on YouTube of Star Wars without the music, and it's awkward and weird and just bare without the music. The music adds so much to the epicness, to the sweep, to the beauty of the story and to the suspense and everything else. I mean, the music is just at the heart of it. And we often don't seem to realize that. We just sort of take it for granted, I think. But I think music can go beautifully with fantasy in a story form, which is why I had that song commissioned in the first place. When I write, especially when I edit, not so much when I get the story down the first time, but when I edit, I like to listen to music to put me in the right mood. So I feel that music and writing go together beautifully. And hopefully people agree, but I'm going to have a conversation with Nikhil about music and fantasy, about composing for a lot of really famous TV shows and series, and also about the process of composing the piece for me, which is called, by the way, Blessed Be the Eternal. That's the name of the piece. If you read the Edan Trilogy, you know where that reference. But we'll have a conversation about how he produced that, how he went about writing a piece that would fit the vibe of the writing. So that's going to be fun. And I have some DDF episodes lined up, some other discussions, which I will shout about as we get closer to the date. But I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing here on YouTube and having a blast. Thanks to all of you. I thank you all so much for tuning in and for being there for me in the comments and being so supportive. I could not be more grateful. But that is it from me for now. Until next time.